Earth debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Eli, and someone's trying to join. Click OK, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on! Let's get it on!
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. You actually have a...
Happy 4th of July to whoever celebrates.
Oh yes, I completely forgot because it has no relevance here in the UK. Happy 4th of July. Anyway, moving on swiftly. What do people do on the 4th of July? Do they have a day off work?
Barbecue, grill,
fireworks.
eat a lot of food, set off fireworks,
That didn't
and
answer my,
get drunk.
didn't
Not
answer
me.
my question. So do people have a day off work?
Yes, it's a national holiday,
The
yes.
National holiday.
holiday.
So there's a good chance that people who may not typically be in front of their computer or have the potential to be in front of their computer might be in front of their computer because they're not at work today. So, although I've already done a call to action in the last 20 seconds in the intro, please share the show. It'd be great to have a nice stonking audience today if we've got a whole bunch of people that potentially could be tuning in. I know it's early in the States currently. Nevertheless, smash that share button. We do actually have a video to cover, although we're all covering it blind. That is to say, Mush, when he shared it, said, I haven't actually covered this video, as in watched it. So we'll find out if that's any good later. Go ahead.
I did glance through it right now while you guys were while you were talking to Eli, and it looks like it's 2015 arguments, but it still might be worth a review.
What's new there?
Yeah, well, so what we call
Exactly.
2015 arguments are realistically the culmination of about 300 years worth of globe garbage derived from flat Earth measurements. So nothing's ever going to change. What we call 2015, i.e. the start of our endeavour into flat Earth, I bet you those arguments were being pushed with the people who were around in 2000, 2006, etc. And going back to the 70s and probably going back further beyond that. Subtleties. The only things that we've had are things like the introduction of refracted geometric horizons, which is an oxymoronic notion in the first instance, but you know, Andrew Thomas Young and even the people that are in our arena now may actually have some small influence on the heliocentric rhetoric, believe it or not. So if anybody can cast their mind back to when Arwin, maybe 6 years ago, was talking about the idea and notion of being able to influence the heliocentric rhetoric, if you can put in a certain aspect of the story that's worthy, then why wouldn't you have your name ascribed to it? Now, number one, he was absolutely correct. But moreover, it won't necessarily be someone like Arwin that would end up with that privilege, if you want to call it that. It's more likely going to be someone like Simon Dan, MC Toon, that kind of person that will end up overcoming a bit of rhetoric with whatever position that they've formulated, and that just ends up slotting in to the heliocentric rhetoric. Like, oh, well, that's a really good overcome to this particularly sticky wicket. So that will become part of the rhetoric. May not be ascribed to them by name, but like I say, with refracted horizons, you could directly ascribe that to certain individuals when you describe it as a physical, observable horizon that is refracted into a non-physical, non-geometric position by way of the mathematics employed by that gentleman. So that is a direct influence on the rhetoric. But aside from subtle details like that, I would suggest that the rhetoric hasn't changed at all in probably 100 years, maybe a bit longer. And I'm talking no subtle changes either, like almost no change. From establishment 300 odd years ago to now, it's probably had very little actually alter. It's just how the information's been peddled to the public that's altered. Anyway,
well, they're still using the boats. They're still using the boat situation, aren't they? Apparently disappearing over the the physical horizon Earth curve as proof of that they live on a globe. I mean, that's they're still saying that now.
Yeah, they're employing
Brenda
the
was
physical.
waffling it today.
Yeah, they're employing the physical geometric sphere edge that's laid down in their Earth curve maths, derived from flat Earth measurements. Obviously.
Oh yeah, obviously that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they say we have an edge. Don't they realize that they're the ones that have the edge?
No, I mean that's a sort of semi-advanced. I was going to say, but it means you're into flat Earth or the counter argument to flat Earth when you're at the position where you've been presented with the idea that we have an edge that we should be defending. You've got to be at least a little bit into the subject by that point. Would you not agree? My point being, at which point you're not in any other. If you're putting to a flat earther that they should be defending an edge, you're well past the point of indoctrination. You're literally defending your religious belief at that point. So even if you did, as a flat earther, point out to them, I don't claim an edge. You've got that from Flat Earth Society because it's the first Google result. It's not a claim I make. Meanwhile, you absolutely, without question, have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon that you call Earth curve. We debunked it in 2020, but you have an edge.
But some of them have even changed that. Nobody's ever claimed the horizon's physical. So, like you say, you get the refraction, horizon moving positions, and then they're claiming that they've never claimed a physical horizon. So they just changed the goalposts all the way along it.
Yeah, well,
I got a question. How do you get a horizon on a globe anyway?
you don't see slope intercept formula or any video titled Slope-a-Dope. But what you're talking about, One Deck, is the approach of an anti-flat earther when they will more than happily relinquish their own rhetoric in order to gain a point over a flat earther. Doesn't matter if they fundamentally sacrifice their entire religious belief in a globe to make that detrimental to a globe claim to overcome a flat earther's point. They'll relinquish the claim that they've got Earth curve, which is what you've just described. Nobody's claiming we've got a physical Earth curve edge for a horizon. So nobody's claiming Earth curve then. No, you're an anti-flat earther, and in this position where we've debunked it, you need to relinquish it and say nobody's ever claimed it. Yeah, they have. Al-Biruni, for a start, if you want to look at actual aspects of your own bloody rhetoric. But you as an anti-flat earther feel quite happy to relinquish your claim of Earth curve when it gets debunked. And suggest that it's a straw man that I would be saying that you should have Earth curve in your maths that's labelled Earth curve. No, we just debunked it. That's the bottom line. And they don't like it, so they tell us that nobody's claimed it when it's debunked. For any of you in the audience unfamiliar with the 2020 debunking of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, we have an argument known as the Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Distance to horizon in the Black Swan image, beyond the physical limitations of a sphere edge at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, therefore the Earth is not a sphere, and the horizon is not Earth curve.
So can I say I won the bet? Because if you remember when that first came out, we took bets on how long it would take for it to sink in. And some of you put out some numbers, and I said they'll never get it. So I win. What do I win?
You don't win anything.
Then why the heck did we make the bet? I should get something. I want $500.
Props. You get props.
No, I want 500.
Okay. Well, no worries. You can want what you want. Is there any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve?
We just went through this. Don't you have a video to cover?
Yeah, we're chit-chatting. Man, you were all keen in the pre-show to talk about Owen Benjamin and Eric DeBay.
Yeah, that's called pre-show. Now it's the show. Now it's time to educate people.
Thanks, Neil. It's good to have a reminder what I do for a living. We do have a video to cover. Is there anybody else that wants to insert anything before I start introducing this video? Clearly not.
Did you cover Candace exposing NASA?
One more time, Apocryphon?
Have you covered Candace Owen talking about the Satanism and NASA?
Yes.
And how they lie? I didn't know.
Satanism and NASA. No, we covered a couple of days ago, and she'd essentially at the beginning of a maybe 10-minute video talked about how she doesn't trust science, and then at the end of the video she did a comment response from someone saying, "Don't give up on flat Earth. It's really good." Blah blah blah. But
she just did one. I think the other day, yesterday, I think yesterday. And she just goes deep into the history of NASA, like Aleister Crowley and Jack, and like just the characters, the ones who created JPL and stuff, and how like they used to get like they lived in Pasadena, and like cops would come to their houses, but they pretty much like were just given a pass. And they're just this occultist, but I don't know. Cool video.
I see. So Candace Owens has gone on an anti-NASA vibe.
Yeah, that's not us here.
Well, I mean, it is to a certain extent. There is no sky vacuum. You can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum for NASA to be putting spaceships in, then the gas would also be able to fill that availability of volume. As per the second law of thermodynamics, entropic dispersion. Gas fills space. High pressure goes to low pressure. If the sky was a vacuum, we wouldn't have any gas to breathe. It's that simple. So they haven't got an area they can put rockets into, because gas would follow it, the rocket, into space. There is no space. It's nonsense. Everything that's based in space is lies.
You just reminded. If he said that she's talking about NASA, you know what's going to happen next?
What?
She's going to find Jiren. Great.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, you think it's wise for her to find any one of the Three Stooges? Mo, Larry, and Scurvy?
I don't care. If people find their way to Jiren and then find out that NASA's been lying to them and they didn't know before, what's the problem with that?
Because it doesn't stop there. It goes on.
Let's get her
to ether and dielectric acceleration and the answer for gravity. And it causes people to say, this is stupid, I'm out of here. Okay? That's why.
Only in the pre-show you were talking about how, as a result, this isn't my inference for the audience, this is what was discussed, right? The inference that as a result of Owen Benjamin yesterday saying that he thinks flat Earth is stupid, and that if you are looking into the subject, I don't know, I've not watched this, but essentially a negative comment towards flat Earth. Now, personally, I don't really care, but the people on the panel saw fit to discuss this, which is to say somebody of note, Owen Benjamin in this instance, has got a bit sick and tired of the subject. Now, without knowing anything or watching it, Neil immediately jumped to the conclusion that because he's hung around in bad company, like he's suggesting Jaren is in this example, that Owen Benjamin has gone onto a less than desirable path, and at the end of that path is him going, I'm sick of this. Right, Neil?
That's correct. That sums it up correct.
Without watching anything or talking to him or knowing anything about what he's actually trying to communicate.
No, I said if that's his attitude. Like, I don't know if he said this is retarded to even talk about it anymore, or if it's retarded in general. So I don't know. But being the company that he's been around in, I couldn't doubt it that he would say this is stupid.
Okay. The only person who's actually seen it is Vexy, or however you say his name, so he's not around at the moment, so let's move over to the video. Okie dokie. So this is Just Thoughts YouTube channel, whose link will go in the live stream chat immediately. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment that won't set off the algorithm for censorship and get your comment removed. So let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. You can see in the live stream chat now I've just posted a link to his channel, or her. I don't actually know who this is. It might be a female for all I know. Nevertheless, please let them know. I'll do this call to action 2 or 3 more times so that the people who are actually in the live stream watching live, or if you're watching after the fact, just go and pull up the chat, do actually do this and share the algorithmic love that we definitely do not receive from YouTube. So the only way you can sort of hope to influence the algorithm in this regard is do as you would hope others would do unto you, which is to say we are supporting other YouTubers. This guy's a smaller YouTuber. Typically we're covering larger ones, but in this case is obviously a smaller YouTube channel. I'm sure he would definitely appreciate people coming to his video, leaving a few comments and boosting him in the algorithm. And like I say, the hope is that I'd get the same treatment from him or her if they were to review this video in response, or anything in response to us and what we do in general. So yeah, share the love, give him a comment, let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I won't ask if anybody's got any comment on the video because nobody's watched it. So we're doing this completely blind. Nobody knows other than Mush, who has a little look while we were alive. So let's just get into it. I'll check the levels as we go.
Hey there, mystery fans. Today we're diving into a topic that's generating a lot of buzz, the shape of our planet. You might be surprised to hear that some folks believe the Earth is flat, like a pancake.
Opening up with a straw man and stereotyping fallacy. Most people immediately, that's a stereotyping fallacy. And then straw man. Most people, no, you haven't confirmed that stereotyping fallacy, believe it's a pancake on its sides, floating in a sky vacuum. How many of the most people did you survey? I ask myself. No, we don't need to ask that question. It's definitely a stereotype fallacy. It's definitely a straw man fallacy. I don't believe Earth's a pancake in a sky vacuum as depicted.
That's ridiculous.
Through, immediately getting yammered through. What's going on? Still in the middle of the same sentence. Going on. Go ahead, Neil.
I said that's ridiculous to even state. Like, we don't know that the oceans are deep, so we think it's a pancake, really. See, that's the problem. They still have us in a solar system.
Yeah, this guy's done a cursory search on Google and found his way to Flat Earth Society, say Earth's a pancake in a sky vacuum, therefore most people say. No, just a stereotyping fallacy.
Scientists, however, agree that the Earth is a sphere.
Scientists agree? Well, then they're not scientists. They don't need agreement amongst men. If it's scientists, then they're performing experimentation by varying and manipulating that which they assume causes an effect they're studying. That's called an experiment. That's what science is. You are under the misapprehension, sir, that science is somehow a consensus of view that is agreed upon. No, somebody doesn't know what science is.
Like a giant basketball. This difference of opinion has sparked a lot of debate, and it's important to understand both sides of the argument.
You don't understand both sides of the argument. You've just used a straw man and stereotyping fallacy. But you're suggesting to your audience that they go and learn the argument you don't understand yourself. Wow.
In this video, we'll explore the arguments for a flat Earth and then examine the overwhelming scientific evidence.
Scientific evidence for a globe is a category error. Shapes aren't causes and effect relationships that you can study through the scientific method. A shape isn't a phenomena. This is stupid. You're in a category error. But you think there's overwhelming cause and effect relationships to validate a shape? My God, this is idiotic.
Is that sort of poisoning the well, Nathan, by him saying about the flat earth proof and overwhelming, you know what I'm saying? Like exaggerating that there's more proof for the globe?
Well, it depends. If he backs it up, then no. If it isn't backed up at all, it's a baseless assertion. Well, I mean, we'll see if he's got overwhelming mountains of evidence for a globe. I don't know if that's poisoning the well. It's just making a baseless assertion at this stage.
Earth. Get ready for a wild ride as we unravel this intriguing mystery.
This as well. Sorry,
okay, let's talk about.
If somebody's coming in new to this and looking into it straight away, they've been put on the wrong path. You know, he's making it a joke. He's He's taking the mickey out of flat Earth and pancakes. He's using scientific wording when it's got nothing to do with science, the shape of the Earth. So anybody who's just coming in for a little bit of a taster, who's got a little bit of interest, they'd probably just think, oh, I'm not listening to this anymore. And it just puts them off going any further.
Well, that's
poisoning the well.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's his objective. If he can convince others it's stupid, then he can get on with his day. Like all anti-flat Earth or globe videos that are decrying flat Earth, they're seeking their own pain relief. Right? He's come across this subject, it's troubled him, so he's gone out of his way to make a video about it.
About the flat Earth theory, folks who believe in
He doesn't know what a theory is either.
this idea picture the Earth as a disk with a dome-like sky overhead.
Why? Because you say that's what most flat earthers say with your stereotype straw man fallacy. Why? So you can lay it up in a false dichotomy? Yeah, I've seen it all before.
They often say that
Wait for a stereotyping fallacy?
things like gravity and space travel are hoaxes or conspiracies.
Really? It wouldn't be the case that we ask you, the positive claimant, to back your assertion of gravity. It wouldn't be the case that we would challenge you to make your claim sound with evidence. No. We say things like space and gravity are hoaxes. No. What we say is space is a second law of thermodynamics violation. Yeah? That's not saying it's a hoax. It's citing a natural law and the consequences of having an area of volume available to gas which expands in all directions to fill volume. That's what we do. We don't just say it's a hoax. That's what happens when you do stereotyping fallacies and straw men. Somebody who's actually part of the group you've stereotyped will point out how wrong you are, making you look stupid.
One of the main arguments for a flat Earth is that it simply looks flat to the naked eye. When we look around, we don't see a curve on the horizon.
I think we've moved on a little bit from them, pal, because we can actually explain how it's measured flat, yeah, using elevation angles, celestial navigation, yeah. We can demonstrate it, point it out, how it's physically measured flat. That's where we're at now.
They also point to the fact that water always finds its level,
It does.
suggesting that the Earth's surface must be flat for this
Well, there's quite a lot of water.
to be true. Some flat earthers even conduct experiments like trying to measure
Here we go. Conduct experiments like trying to measure. When you use these words, do you not recognise how stupid it is to say experiments and then follow that up with something that is clearly maths? Like measuring things. No, you don't know what science is.
the Earth's curvature over long distances.
Let me get this right. You think flat earthers go out and measure Earth curvature over long distances? Yeah, he's right, isn't he? We're surrounded by idiots in this community of flat earthers where they go out of their way to talk about how curvy it is or isn't and how much Earth curve we should or shouldn't see. Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on this stupid nonsense. I don't understand this. Why flat earthers would be out there talking about the globe and what it should or shouldn't do. You'd think that would be the positive claimant's job. But no, it seems we've taken on that job, and the perception by these numpties, this guy in particular, Just Thoughts, is that we go around talking about Earth curve all the time. Now, at face value, if you're on the outside looking in and you knew nothing about the subject, you'd go, well, that seems preposterous. Why would they be going on and on and on about their opponent's claim? Yeah, it is. But that is exactly what happens, isn't it now? Yeah? If you're a flat earther listening and going, well, I spend my time telling people how Earth isn't a sphere. Oh, really? Why would you do that? What, just so you antagonise the person that believes it is, and then you get into an argument with them? If you're going to enter into this discussion, number one, know what you're talking about. Number two, tell them how it is. And if they argue with you, point out that they don't know what they're talking about because you weren't asking or inviting them to debate with you. You were telling them how Earth is measured. For them and you. Oh, what's that? You say you've actually got a sphere belief? Yeah. Your sphere belief's also based on those measurements. Were you unaware? Not a question, by the way. I'm not inviting you to believe in this. I'm just telling you what the world is, how it's measured. For everyone.
They believe these experiments support their view.
Do they? I mean, I can't really disagree. I can only speak from my own point of view, but I know damn well that there are people out there in the community that literally label their videos with the word experiments that are describing Earth curve when they're flat earthers. I mean, it's a bonkers upside down world that we live in sometimes. But I've got very little to actually contrast when he puts this stereotyping fallacy to me, other than to say, I don't do that, which I do not. But you can totally appreciate where he's got this impression from, when the majority of flat earthers can't shut up about Earth curve.
Even though the scientific community often disputes their methods and interpretations.
Do they now? The scientific community get together, put their heads together as scientists, and then talk about other flat earthers and how their methods are flawed? Is that what those scientists do? While they're having a smoke and maybe a whiskey? No, that's not what scientists do. That's people talking to each other.
Now, let's turn our attention to the scientific evidence supporting a spherical Earth.
Oh, let's do that immediately. I know we can't, because it's a category error. You can't cause and affect a globe. This is idiotic.
What do you think he's going to say?
I don't know. We'll find out. Go on. What do you think he'll say?
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. What would he think his science? He obviously doesn't know what science is, but what's he going to use for the scientific proof of a globe?
I can see it on the subtitles. He's going to use boats over the horizon. Going to use boats falling over an edge as scientific evidence.
Yeah, but Nathan, you have to break down why it's category error and what science is, because you do have new listeners coming in.
Science is a methodology to prove things. It proves, as the title suggests, physics, things in the physical and natural world. That is to say, it gives an explanation for phenomena. So how does the process function? Step 1, observe a phenomena. That is to say, see something in nature that is happening, that's natural, and you want to know why it happened. That's step 1. Step 2 is formulate a hypothesis. Presume a cause for the effect you are studying. I think this will cause the phenomena I am studying. Now that is half of a hypothesis. You've got your independent variable, that would be to say what you think causes the effect. You've got the thing you're studying, phenomena, otherwise known as dependent variable. And once you formulate that with a null, which in reality doesn't need in actuality formulation at all on paper, it's implied. The method requires it. But the antithesis of your prediction, if this, then that being the phenomena, this being my presumed cause, then your null is a zero difference result. You vary this, that doesn't happen. Now, that's step 2, formulate hypothesis. Step 3 is actualization of the hypothesis, otherwise known as an experiment. Vary your presumed cause, see if it causes the effect. Now, if you have followed that process, then that is ipso facto the scientific method, aka physics. This, looking at a ball, that's a shape. It's got sod all to do with cause and effect relationships. Sod all to do with science. This man is a moron.
He's probably going to use the boat appearing to disappear as the observed natural phenomena, which that's just going to use. And then the reason that that's happening is because obviously the Earth's a globe. But I don't know, even though that's incorrect, because it's not really a natural phenomenon, I don't know how he's going to vary and manipulate that afterwards anyway, but I reckon he'll go down that route.
You think for 1 second this clown's going to formulate this into a scientific prediction, aka hypothesis? Absolutely not. He doesn't know what science is. He's already demonstrated that half a dozen times in the last 3 minutes. Even though it's only been a minute and a half of video, but for us. He's incompetent when it comes to the subject he's covering. There's no other way to describe it. Now he's about to describe boats falling over a bleeding edge. See this diagram in the thumbnail on the timeline? That has got a flat earth pizza pie with an edge that he strawmanned us by stereotyping fallacy at the beginning of the video. It has an edge that they like to throw at us like we have to prove it when we're not claiming it. Meanwhile, we're about to go to boats falling over an edge. Because that is his standard. Now, I love pointing this out to Globers, because they think it's preposterous when they ask us, where's your edge? I don't actually claim an edge. You do, though. You think boats fall over it, don't you?
Evidence comes from observing ships sailing towards the horizon.
Sailing towards the horizon? You mean falling over a physical geometric sphere edge we debunked in 2020? Boats falling over an edge, mate. Yeah, you got a stupid edge that you think boats fall over. Meanwhile, in reality, hashtag shit shrinks.
The ship sails further away
and gets smaller.
It appears to sink below the horizon.
Sorry, sink below a horizon? The optical dissolution point that you use to claim Earth curve is a derivation of a flat plane measurement, to infer that you've got a point below it for boats to fall over. No, my friend, the mathematical derivation of your claim was debunked in 2020. Furthermore, your claim itself requires we measure Earth flat. For the surface level derivation for an Earth curve, you can't derive a difference from horizontal without first having a horizontal to derive it from. And in the Earth curve maths, they use surface level to derive it. That's a flat Earth surface to claim a deviation from it. You think boats fall over it in an orthographic mathematics known as Earth curve maths. It doesn't. It's absurd. Boats don't fall over an edge.
Hull first, until it disappears completely. This happens because the Earth's curvature obscures the ship from our view. If the
Oh, really? Obscures the Earth from our view in a mathematical derivation of a surface level calculation? I'm thinking no. I'm thinking that you first must measure Earth flat to make that inference. You'd need a surface level. That'd be sea level. You don't have one. You're inferring there's a point below the surface level that boats fall over.
the Earth were flat, we would see the entire ship shrink in size as it moved away, but...
What, like things shrinking with perspective? I'm going to hear that again. I'm going to rewind it. This guy has literally put a false dichotomy together that says boats go into the distance, and the only reason we lose sight of them is because an Earth curve edge blocks our view. That's boats going over an edge. Meanwhile, if Earth was flat, things would get smaller. Yeah, they do. It's just that particular description's been hijacked and called Earth curve, meaning that in your maths, the feet and inches value for a boat you're assessing in the distance does not change. It stays the same value. It's always a 50-foot boat in the distance. Doesn't matter if it's 1,000,000 miles away. For you, 1,000,000 miles away without an Earth curve in the way means we can see a boat that's 50 feet at 1,000,000 miles in your maths, because there is no perspective in Earth curve maths. You've hijacked it and called it Earth curve. Meanwhile, the mathematics itself requires surface level. That's level!
we wouldn't see it disappear below the horizon. Another piece of evidence is the way different constellations are visible from different parts of the Earth. For example, the Southern Cross constellation is visible from the southern hemisphere, but...
Oh, really? It's interesting you should mention stars because we use them to make our maps flat, and navigate flat, and measure Earth flat. We also use those flat Earth measurements to build a sphere with them. So it seems stupid that you would be mentioning the stars, given that we measure them with a flat Earth to create maps and navigation systems with them. Why would you be so absurd in bringing up something that absolutely without question requires Earth to be flat, to measure them and map the world with them?
But not from the northern hemisphere.
Why are you begging the question of hemispheres? The only spheres that are involved are derived from perspective measurements of stars when the sky is flat and the ground is flat and parallel with it. So you can describe it through a protractor as a hemispherical view. That, my friend, has nothing to do with the ground. You, with your begging the question hemisphere, are under the misapprehension that the ground is spherical after you convert angle measurements from a flat plane into a latitude system wrapped around a ball. The latitude system itself is derived from angle measurements to Polaris in the northern hemisphere and an inferred sigma octantus centralized point in the southern hemisphere. So you can plot these two separate flat Earth hemispherical view-based systems antipodal from one another in a system called the celestial sphere. Now, at this point, when we've mapped and measured the stars and given ourselves this inference of two antipodal flat planes with a celestial sphere wrapped around it, still has flat planes to measure the angles from. There's no inference whatsoever until conversion of the latitude system onto a ball that we have a spherical surface. There isn't one. Got to do a whole bunch of conversions from the flat measurements we actually take to get you to your ball for you to beg the question of hemispheres when you make this claim.
This wouldn't be possible if the Earth were flat. We also have photographs.
Sorry, that was a baseless assertion. Why would not what be possible? Seeing stars that we measure flat? How absurd. It's only possible if Earth is flat. You've mapped out the territory with them by measuring angles to them off a flat ground.
Photographs of Earth taken from space by satellites and astronauts.
Space? What, like a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum with all of the high pressure gas in this image not filling the high vacuum? Now, I'm pretty sure that if you put high pressure gas next to a vacuum, it just expands at a high rate of speed into whatever volume it's got. It's a law of nature. So there are no satellites in space. What an absurd notion. Astronauts are all liars if they're claiming to be in a sky vacuum, looking back at high pressure gas, not following natural law. How stupid.
These images clearly show the
images. I mean, these are just bullshit CGI representations that don't have gas at high pressure filling a vacuum. Utterly absurd.
The thing is, he's gone from like, observing a boat apparently disappear into the horizon and just presuming that's because of Earth curve. He's not talked about any measurements or give it any other possibility why that could appear to be happening. And now he's jumped straight up into the sky talking about stars, space, and the ISS. Pathetic.
Yeah, he's going to his bloody sky gods that have lied to him. My priest said he floated around in a sky vacuum. Oh, did he now? And you believed him, did you, Dumbo? No, my friend, there is no sky vacuum for your priests to believe in being there. There is no there to be. The sky is not a vacuum.
The Earth's spherical shape. While some flat earthers argue that these images are fake, the sheer
fake or a second law of thermodynamics violation. Number one, they absolutely without question are fake. These aren't photographs. This is a CGI rendering of a fridge moving around a spherical surface. I mean, how many fridges have you seen in space? None is the answer. How many blue space skies have you seen? None. How many times have you seen high pressure gas not going into vacuums, not following entropic law? So meanwhile, down here on the surface of your bullshit globe that you believe we're standing on, you think that we've got weather systems that follow entropic law, that would be high pressure moving to low pressure, to give us wind and such like. But that system that dictates how weather's formed with entropic laws in tow isn't being abided by with a high vacuum right next to it. You people are all idiots. The sky is not a vacuum. There are no fridges in the sky vacuum.
sheer volume of evidence from multiple sources makes this highly unlikely.
Right, were those words flying through space, I see, must have been a real photo. But flat earthers by stereotype say these images are fake. How dare they? Enter a Star Wars style Ashton on the screen. What the hell? Obviously fake. Meanwhile, the ones that you believe in, regardless of whether or not they are claimed to be photos or not, have come from an area that isn't real. A sky vacuum with our high pressure gas that we love breathing, not filling it. No, that's a straight up second law of thermodynamics violation. Definitely not real.
The idea of a spherical Earth isn't new. In fact, ancient Greek scholars like Pythagoras and Aristotle figured this out over 2,000 years ago.
How did they figure it out, I wonder? Figure it out sounds like calculations to me. I wonder what they measured. Go on, one Dick.
I'm just going to say what you've just said. Yeah, he will be now demonstrating some presumptions and elevation angles from the surface of Earth using sticks and they'll be measuring shadows, basically.
Yeah.
A few presumptions that we live on a sphere.
Yeah. They notice things like the curved shadow. I think he's going to go to eclipses.
They noticed things like the curved shadow Earth.
Did they now? So they knew it was a shadow because of the not yet in existence heliocentric model that would infer we have orbital motion and occultation for eclipses. That's what they gave as an inference for Earth being in an orbital motion. No. The very notion that it is in orbit came from flat Earth measurements to derive radial values to put the Earth in a position where it's spherical, to then put it in a motion around the sun. So no, looking up and seeing what you think they said was a shadow in some absolutely unverifiable nonsense from Greece thousands of years ago isn't going to stack up if you haven't got any primary source evidence for it, when it's only an inference and a presupposition that it is even a shadow. This doesn't fly.
Casts on the moon during a lunar eclipse.
Yeah, presuppositional orbital motion that hasn't been developed yet.
Fast forward to the age of exploration when intrepid explorers like Ferdinand Magellan circumnavigated the globe.
Did they? I was under the impression that they navigated using the stars with respect to elevation angles and their ground positions at 90 degrees to wherever they're navigating to or from, because they're plotting out their position with respect to these stars so they can find their way home. Circumnavigation wouldn't be possible unless we had maps. Now, circumnavigation doesn't imply sphericity. What it does imply is that you've got to have good maps. And those good maps will be developed by these systems of angle measurements to stars, specifically Polaris. If you're going to be circumnavigating, you're going to be moving in a circle around an area of equal elevation that can only be measured with respect to Polaris. Because that's what the grid on the map is using. Flat Earth measurements to that star. So circumnavigation requires a flat Earth, requires a flat map, requires you follow directions that are only navigable on a flat plane. So why would you go to navigation?
Magellan's voyage, completed in 1522.
Why are you showing us a flat map with a chronometer?
Provided concrete proof that the Earth is round.
These maps have got latitude lines on them. So if you're looking at maps with latitude lines on, you immediately know that the system it's based on is a flat Earth system, because it's angle measurements to Polaris with 90 degrees below its position in the sky. That's how it's measured, on a flat Earth. This map wouldn't exist unless we'd measured Earth flat. Why would you put in this on screen? Can't have anything with latitude lines on it, unless you know Earth's measured flat.
Today, we have even more sophisticated tools, like satellites and space telescopes.
Space telescopes? What? Space being the sky vacuum where this high-pressure gas isn't filling? Here's a little slightly blurred part of the CGI. I mean, you could easily suggest that this is the thin layer of high-pressure gas. And this black area is claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Now, obviously, we're all well aware of what happens when you put a high-pressure gas anywhere near the vicinity of a vacuum. The gas fills the space instantaneously. But, I mean, in this scenario, nah, second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. Of course the high-pressure gas, without containment, can be adjacent to a vacuum. No bother. Doesn't matter, that violates a principle that dictates how the weather's going to be tomorrow. Entropic dispersion. Don't worry about that. The priests said they went up and sent satellites and telescopes there, so yeah. My God, people are gullible.
That allow us to study our planet from afar.
Do they? They allow you to look back at the high-pressure gas not expanding into the vacuum, do they? Really?
These tools have given us an unprecedented understanding of Earth's shape, size, and composition.
No, they haven't. The shape, size, and composition is dictated by the navigational systems that are put onto the maps. Because they're critical in terms of actually being able to find your way around the surface. They're all flat. They're flat for a reason. If you're going to be drawing circles of equal elevations onto a piece of paper that's got the representation of land masses on it, it better be flat or it won't work. That's why all the maps are flat.
Further confirming its spherical nature.
Sorry, what was that baseless assertion? We've got stuff in space that you haven't presented, therefore we know it's a sphere. My priest said so, from a place that isn't real, therefore we definitely know. Is this your mountains of scientific evidence, by the way? Oh, there he is. He's the importance of the scientific inquiry. The scientific inquiry would be formulation of a hypothesis.
The flat Earth versus spherical Earth debate highlights the importance of scientific inquiry and
No, it doesn't. It's a complete category error.
critical thinking.
Critical thinking? No, scientific empiricism is formulation of cause and effect relationships, followed by the assertion of whether or not that relationship exists when you actualize a scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. That's experimentation. That's science. This isn't.
It's important to approach claims with a healthy dose of skepticism.
No, it isn't. It's important to observe a natural phenomena, assume a cause, and vary it to see if it causes it or not if you're doing science. Having a healthy degree of skepticism. For what? The experiment you haven't formulated yet?
Why?
And to look for...
Who said that? Hellfire, go.
Why can't you be skeptic when you read results or article? The whole point. Like you being skeptic now about stuff. Why cannot you be skeptic?
He's saying that science requires a healthy dose of skepticism. That's not science.
Anything requires.
It seems like I'm answering you and you're now replying in the middle of that answer. Try that again. This gentleman on this video is suggesting, with the actual title about how important something to do with science is now just talking about how much of a degree of skepticism you use. Me, I'm pointing out that that is unequivocally not part of the scientific method. No amount of skepticism is required when you vary and manipulate that which you assume causes a phenomena you've observed. Do you understand?
Yeah, I'm not sure you understand the scientific method, but
Excuse me?
you need to understand.
Excuse me?
Skepticism
Excuse me.
is
Nobody
a
was
good
quizzing
thing.
me on my understanding of science. This gentleman on this video, further to your critique that somehow we should be skeptical or have a healthy degree of it, is completely irrelevant when I'm critiquing this gentleman's idea about what science is when he says there should be a healthy degree of skepticism. That's not part of science. Now, you feel that the reply to that is to tell me I don't know what science is. Now, do you want to address what your criticism was about, which is me suggesting that he is utterly wrong when he says science has something to do with a healthy degree of skepticism? It doesn't. Can you acknowledge that rather than attacking me about my science acumen, please?
I acknowledge that you are looking for things that which are not relevant to anything. Skepticism is a good thing in science and anything.
It's got nothing to do with... So you've ignored me entirely. So rather than acknowledge what I've just said, you've ignored it and contradicted it. No, mate, skepticism's got absolutely zero to do with the establishment of a phenomena that you want to study, the presumed cause that you put into your hypothesis, and the actualization of that cause. That is science. Did I say skepticism in that? By the way, that's me detailing the scientific method you said I didn't understand. There's no skepticism in that. Do you want to acknowledge that? This is your last chance before you get removed, Hellfire.
Okay.
So can you acknowledge that your criticism was flawed because it's not whether or not I retain a healthy degree of skepticism, it's whether or not the videographer's assertion that it has something to do with science actually does or not? It doesn't. Your criticism was stupid. Can you sit down, shut up? It seems like you don't understand what science is and are offering your interjections under false pretenses. That you do. You don't. Shut up. Science has nothing to do with skepticism. You're as dumb as the videographer. Now sit down, don't offer any other criticism when you don't know what science involves. Definitely not skepticism. Shut up.
Did science.
Shut up. Do you not understand the words that came out of my mouth when I told you to detach yourself from this discussion? Based on how ignorant you were and how wrong you were, something you've failed to acknowledge on 3 separate occasions. That doesn't mean continue to interject your opinions that are wrong about what science involves. You think it involves skepticism, like the videographer. You're as wrong as he is. You've also attacked me by saying I don't know what science is. I absolutely do. You, on the other hand, think it involves skepticism like this stupid videographer. That's why you've been told to sit down and shut up.
Evidence-based explanations.
Why
You can sit down and shut up!
Part of...
No, you can't explain. When you say skepticism has something to do with science,
you cannot
you exclude yourself from the conversation. You don't just yammer through the host telling you that you're going to be acknowledging that which you got wrong and you haven't done. That's where you exclude yourself. You don't then ask permission to carry on babbling about something else. I have demanded that you acknowledge that which I have undone in your criticism of me and my critique of this videographer and his assertion that skepticism is needed in science. It isn't.
Which is
and you
good.
haven't acknowledged, and now you're yammering through the top of me, reasserting it for the 4th time. You haven't acknowledged that. Until you do, you don't get to join in. You certainly don't get to talk through me, reiterating that which you have failed to acknowledge 4 times. You just don't get to take part anymore.
Skepticism just kicks scientific method in the teeth. It doubts any truth or anything like that. It's nothing to do with scientific method, mate.
Contrary to what this clown, who still thinks he's got a place in this discussion, it doesn't need skepticism. It's offering empiricism. Yeah, that's what it offers. Empirical outcomes, if followed correctly. You don't need to be skeptical of what the empirical bloody outcome that you get. It's just wrong. Like I say, I've told him that 5 times. He hasn't acknowledged it, so he doesn't get to take part. If he keeps interrupting me, telling him that, I'm just going to eventually server mute him.
Science encourages us to question, to investigate, and to base our understanding of the world on empirical evidence.
So it sounds like he's just completely contradicted his claim that it needed a healthy dose of skepticism when he's just specifically detailed the contrary.
While it's okay to be curious and to explore different ideas, we must be careful not to mistake personal opinions for scientific facts.
Right, well, maybe you could explain to us what a scientific fact is.
The beauty of science is that it's constantly evolving.
Sorry, if it's a fact, how could it evolve? The facts are facts.
Sorry, do you need an explanation or you want to try all
remove Hellfire
day?
from this conversation, because in the middle of me talking, after failing to acknowledge anything that was put to him, he's decided he's going to talk straight through the middle of me critiquing this video. No, Hellfire, you've been removed from the discussion. Get lost.
New discoveries are made every day, and our...
No, science is empirical, and once something has been established as the cause of a phenomena that you've studied, that's it. It will never, ever, ever change.
Understanding of the universe around us continues to grow.
Really? I see. So it's not like you could have the empiricism that you inferred, because it might grow into something new. No. Once you get an empirical outcome, that's it. You're done. You know it didn't cause it. Or you know it caused it. But you definitely know, and that's the end. Once you know something didn't cause something else to happen, it will never cause it to happen. If it did, it would violate the law of non-contradiction.
So to conclude, it's one world, one shape. While the flat Earth theory persists, the overwhelming scientific evidence points to a spherical Earth.
From ancient
Sorry, baseless assertion much? Did you want to actually offer some of the scientific evidence in a category error? Oh no, you won't be able to do that, because there isn't any. It's a category error.
observations to modern space exploration, the evidence is clear. Our planet is a globe.
Right, the evidence is clear, baseless assertion. What evidence? You didn't provide any. You've said consensus science says so. And then made the baseless assertion again at the end. This is the lowest standard there possibly is.
Spinning through the vastness of space.
Because you say so. The spinning description is also a derivation of a flat plane inference. Axial rotation requires a flat plane to describe it from. It's a plane of reference. Inertial plane, non-inertial plane.
Understanding the shape of our planet is just the beginning.
Really? Well, we would say that it's the end. Once you've measured it, that's it. You understand it because you've measured it, and then you know how it is.
There's so much more to learn about our universe and our...
Your universe, beyond what you see through a telescope lens, is a complete farce. You think that there's men floating around like gods in sky vacuums with high pressure gas below them not expanding into the area that they are in. You have a belief in lying sods that have told you they are like gods.
Place in it.
So keep asking questions, keep exploring, and never stop learning.
Yeah, I would highly advise you do that. You personally, because you don't know anything. You need to do a lot of that before you make any more videos. This one was garbage. Riddled with baseless assertions. Anyway, that was it. It was only a short one. Well, that's fun. That wasn't a bad video, I wouldn't have said. Oh, is he gone? Oh, he is still here. Mush. That was pretty good. Mush?
There's a video that I posted in the chat in Discord, Nathan. It's about it's on Twitter. Shane posted it, but it's really good. Like, they go into a lot of cool stuff about the moon being faked, obviously, the moon landing, and like just NASA in general. It's 3 hours long or something like that. Maybe you could do a series on it. I don't know, but it's a really good video, though. Informative.
Oh, well, probably not today, but yeah, okay, maybe we'll look at that tomorrow. Even if it's 3 hours, often we only cover a certain chunk. Go on, whoever that was from G+.
Anybody hear me?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm having internet problems. I think my satellites aren't working correctly today.
No, it's a problem with the sky vacuum. Right, as is always the case, let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link going by in the live stream chat now. Leave him a polite comment. Let him know we critiqued his video. Point out that we don't have a sky vacuum. Whatever you feel necessary. Did you hear what we were covering, though, Chocolate?
Only about like, a couple minutes of it. And the guy was talking about boats going over the curve and stuff. If the Earth wasn't curved, it wouldn't be doing that. It would just disappear into the distance. Like, yeah, that's what happened, buddy.
Yeah, anti-flat earthers will never change. They have such a low grasp of whatever it is they're trying to comprehend and then decry when it comes to the flat earth counterpart argument. It is quite a shame that the certain aspects of his video you don't need to mitigate for them necessarily, but you can at least appreciate why he's under the impression that that is our position. Because we moan about it all day long with our counterparts that talk nonsense in this subject arena. And then when someone else comes along and goes, people in this subject arena talk this nonsense, how'd you defend it? When you go, yeah, I know they do. It's not me, I don't do that.
Thing is, as well, it's like, it's so sad because obviously, because we're in this arena and we know a bit more in depth, you know, on the subject matter. It just your normal sort of average Joe listening to that would still be brainwashed with, well, yeah, the boat does disappear over curvature. Obviously, there's no other explanation for that, and there is pictures from NASA from space. He's just going over that and confirming that the eclipse, the moon, the shadow. So somebody who's just not been into this subject really, they will just take that as, well, yeah, that's correct. All what he's just said is correct. He's used the word science. He's talking. I mean, he was talking a bit like Dracula. It had Dracula music in the background, but I don't know if that helps him any. But yeah. So if someone's listening to that as an average Joe, they're going to be brainwashed.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And then it comes with, oh, let's make fun of the flat Earth. We're trying to so-called experiment, right? So they go out to the sea or whatever, and they try to show you something, and we'll just make fun of them for that instead of actually looking at whatever it is that they're trying to show you. Right? Just poison the well right there. Right?
And with such low standards, well, flat earthers just see these pictures from space that's definitely real and say they're not real. And that's the argument in its entirety. Moving on.
And he didn't once talk about any physical Earth curve measurement in that. Not that he's got any, but he didn't even attempt to talk about how the actual circumference was actually physically measured. It was all like, well, the boat disappears, must be a curve, moon shadow curve, circumnavigate curve. Not well. How do we measure it? How do we measure this drop over distance?
Curve.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, I was listening to some of the show. Hey, One Deck. Hey, everyone. You know what? Every time, every one of these videos are the same. The Greeks, science is evolving. It's like you could literally get any 10 or 20 of these videos together, and the same exact claims are being made in each one. And the Greek claim is completely false, provably. And the claim of science is evolving shows that they don't have a clue about what they're talking about. It's like every one of these people have the same playbook, and it's the same rubbish that has never been, that either can't be validated, or that is completely wrong, like the Greek claim, or they're completely wrong in their understanding of science. I was listening there, and this is what an audience member will take so much. Even if somebody just listened to the show just happening right now only one time. If they just took away that when that guy said scientific fact, science is empirical, and then he says the beauty of science is that it's always evolving, and you point out, Nathan, if it's a fact, it can't evolve into some other whatever evolve is, into some other thing. Like, how stupid are these videographers sitting there and not thinking about what they're saying? Because it seems to me they don't have any thought. They just have a playbook that they read from one thing into the next and narrate or whatever, one thing into the next. All this incorrect nonsense about Pythagoras and the Greeks and all this other rubbish. They literally have absolutely nothing, but each one of them come out with the same thing. Earth curve, both going over the horizon. There's absolutely no learning in these people. And it doesn't matter if the video came out 5-6 years ago or came out yesterday. It's the same rubbish. It's like they do no learning, no research on anything. Nothing. Just, Earth curve, the Greeks, science is evolving.
Them Greeks, O'Brien. I mean, that's why I wrote that poem. Because when you do start looking at that is the answer. If you start searching on Google as a newbie, how do we prove Earth shape? Who measured the Earth? You don't get a direct answer. You just get the Greeks knew the Earth was spherical. They just knew it.
Yeah, but as if like being again, Greek means that you have to be correct. Sorry.
Yeah, an ordinary Joe, like probably me, back in the day, you Google that and read. Well, the Greeks knew the Earth was a globe. Your brain just automatically accepts that in some cases, unless you've been into this and you're into it.
Well,
it's just an instant. It's an instant fool. Sorry, mate.
I'm just saying, the way they always, it's the Greeks. Why is it always the Greeks? It's never like the Romans or, the Persians. It's always the Greeks. Why is it always the Greeks? Because the Greeks in history had a very high level society, supposedly. And that was a more let's just say, structured society or something than the societies around them at the time. So they're just trying to hijack the validity of the Greeks. The Greeks knew this, the Greeks knew that, the Greeks knew the other thing. It's like a lot of people they're even naming out weren't even living in Greece. It's crazy, the stupidity go on with. And the Greeks can't have known that. They couldn't have, not with the measurements that they were taking. They could only have been measuring a horizontal plane. There's no way to do anything else other than that.
Hey, Brian.
There was no globe before Kepler. Go on.
It's slightly off topic, sorry. Bible U from the chat says, hey, Brian, is it a character assassination when someone mentions fight the flat Earth's violent proclivities? Yes, it is.
It is,
yes, but deserved.
Anyway, I'm going to shout out super chat. Shout out to BG for hitting the super chat. He says, just because he wants to give me money, or she. I don't know if you're a he or a she, but thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Yeah, I used that as an example yesterday. So I'm like, when I do it, the same thing applies. If someone turned around and said, does this help your argument when you point out that Craig's a woman beater and convicted criminal, that judges say that he's, what was the word that the judge used? Outrageously violent. Does it help your argument? No, it just means he's outrageously violent. Doesn't mean that we've overcome any of his positions from the globe standpoint. Doesn't mean we've made any points from the flat earth that are going to win or overcome anybody that doubted it. Doesn't mean anything. It's just a personal attack, isn't it?
Well, that's literally personal with you, Nathan, because Craig was very personal with you, trying to character assassinate you in the past. So I understand why you do it with Craig, because of his behavior with you in the past. Now, I don't do it with him. I don't say it at all. I don't go into that at all. But I understand why you do. And it doesn't even matter, even if the actual facts of the situation may not be as said. The point is that it's a character assassination on Craig, the person who was willing to try and character assassinate you on something false years ago. Personally.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
To do that.
It's no justification. Sinking to their level is what I've done, and Paula's more than happy to point that out, and she's right to do so. Because lest I did add it yesterday when we were discussing this, lest I be a hypocrite. Because I am. If I'm saying our arguments are not supported by attacking people's credibility, and then I attack someone's credibility based on them being violent and being convicted by a judge who described them as outrageously violent, me highlighting that doesn't prove Earth's flat, does it?
Yeah, no, it proves he's a woman beater.
Yeah, that's all it proves.
Well, I don't know the full details of why I ever went on with Craig. It's not my business. It's his life. But the bit I did hear about concerning this altercation he had with his neighbour, from what I heard, I would have an altercation with somebody if that was their behaviour. So I can't, you know what I mean? I don't know what the person is. I know nothing about the person, but just that there would be at least an argument, a raised voice argument at least with someone if they were carrying on the way that he said that his neighbour was carrying on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can somebody define what character assassination means, please? Because to me, it sounds like you're attacking somebody's character falsely.
Well, is this a way that you're attacking the character, not the argument?
Exactly. It's like an ad hominem, but without them having to actually put an argument for you to ignore. A character assassination is just straight up attacking somebody based on their demeanour, their personality, their behaviour, as opposed to their position and argument.
He said that we were wrong to say call it character assassination on Will Duffy. That he said it was more of a review of that person's character. I could have taken that on board, but it's still the same. It's still doing the same thing. You're still pointing out flaws in the person's character to cause mistrust, to cause public mistrust in the person, which doesn't prove or disprove that there is a 24-hour Antarctic sun.
But that's what people respond to.
In that video, I didn't find the character assassination. I listened to it this morning.
Don't people like to talk about other people? So when someone's got an argument to make, or a policy to put forth, or a position to stress, the general public, for the most part, is he a good guy? Who cares? Will the roundabout he's proposing in your town centre work? Yeah, but is he a good guy? I heard he had an affair. Will the roundabout work? Will it relieve traffic congestion? Yeah, but he did have a bit of a drinking problem. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you could character assassinate a lot of people because everyone's got some kind of flaws. And often the time people who stand out a bit in society, they can also have big flaws. So often it's easy to a character assassinate somebody. But that doesn't mean that the roundabout they're building or the bridge they're building won't be a perfectly good bridge or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's safe to say that only your mother can character assassinate you then?
Anybody can character assassinate anybody, right? If it wasn't the case that you couldn't do it, we wouldn't have politics hiring spin doctors to go out and run smear campaigns on their opponents and dig out legitimate things that they've done wrong. Now, if it was a reasonable world where we work with logic, they would attack their policies and point out their failures in policy implementation. If it was a political debate. But they don't. They say he's had an affair. Because that's what people respond to.
If anyone wants to see character assassination in action, daily character assassination, just go to my channel.
Read a few of Brian's comments.
Yeah, it's just no end of character assassination. But it doesn't mean anything after a while when there's nothing but character assassination. See, that was my issue with the whole Duffy thing. You can call out his character and review his character and term it as you like. If there's too much of that, it's going to be seen as an attempt to character assassinate him in case he shows a 24-hour Antarctic sun, as opposed to just leave him go and show what he's supposed to be showing or not show it. You know what I mean? I don't care if he's financially not trustworthy, or if he has business dealings, or if he had an affair, or whatever. It's nothing to do with me. Like, if it's not just general normal stuff, nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? I'm only interested in his claims concerning this nonsense he's promoting. And I know he's dishonest. We can review him on those things, but that doesn't make any difference to the thing that hasn't happened yet. Will he show a 24-hour Antarctic sun, a genuine one, or not? That's what it matters.
And moreover, if he does show a 24-hour Antarctic sun, does that confirm the presupposition of antipodal positioning when you travel south?
It doesn't confirm anything other than the sky is more mysterious than we thought.
Well, it confirms that we have a 24-hour sun down there, if there is one. It will confirm that phenomena.
Down where? There's no down.
Yeah. I have to catch you out every time. I love it. Yeah, as we travel out south towards the horizon, out in the direction on the compass, used flat on flat maps, developed from flat measurements to flat skies and flat planes for angles, to develop celestial systems, hemispherical in nature, to find our way so that we can safely and comfortably travel south, flat. If when we arrive south, with the sky above and the ground below as we travelled, we assume that we are actually antipodal on a ball that was developed from those flat Earth measurements, then I see a 24-hour sun. I can suggest that that is indicative of the presupposition of the antipodal positioning I used in my formal logical fallacy, known as affirming the consequent. If the Earth is a ball, I will observe 24-hour sun when travelling antipodal. I travel antipodal and see a 24-hour sun, therefore the Earth's a ball. It's just a fallacy. We aren't travelling antipodal, but that assumption must be made in order for this fallacy to work. Otherwise, they'd use the northern 24-hour sun that we definitely do have, but no one's assuming antipodal positioning when you observe that in the north. But we do when we travel south, we assume we're on the bottom of a ball. Therefore, anything we observe can suggest to be proving that we're on the bottom of the presupposed antipodal ball that we're obviously not on when we travel south. It's just stupid. People haven't recognised the fallacy. And even in the comments on the videos that are put out about this, we're saying, yeah, it's just a fallacy. It's affirming the consequent. And then lay it out. You get comments that say things like, no, this would confirm we're on a ball. No, you've got a presupposition that you're on a ball. That's what's been explained in the video to you. No, it will confirm the model. No, the model is your presupposition. They just don't get it. They're too dumb.
The thing is that what I'm more interested in is what will happen if they don't. Let's say they do actually go in December, but they don't get to see a 24-hour sun. What about if they get to see exactly what was shown in Flat Earth Banjo's video, which
doesn't do anything
which
either.
Is a sun, which is redness on the horizon with complete darkness behind the person.
So
that's what was shown.
So what you're saying is, if they go down and we see what we expect and has been described by people like Robert Shortman, what would happen? Nothing.
Yeah.
This guy would vanish and would probably never hear from him again. A bit like the black guy that wanted to book an Antarctic north-south circumnavigation trip. Do you remember him? What was his name? Big black guy.
Oh, the Greater Sapien.
Greater Sapien. What happened to him? Just vanished for 3 years. And then when everyone forgot, he came back. That's what this guy would do. Oh, we didn't see it. Then he'll vanish and then come back. That's all that'll happen. In other words, nothing. But if they get to beg the question because they get to see a 24-hour sun that no one else is accounting for and there's lots of editing shenanigans going on when they claim they do show it, then we'll have an antipodal positioning assumption. No, we won't. We've overcome it before they've even left from the port.
Good morning.
Adam, go ahead.
Good morning. No, it's
hey, 10th. Good morning.
can you go to Master B? I sent you a few slides concerning this video review that you're doing today.
From Synthetic Cosmology?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Can you put it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to go to my, so the cover there, and you look at the bottom, it says 1899. That's just last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1899. Okay.
That's a bit expensive, isn't it?
It's a date.
If you look at just the beginning of this pamphlet, it's not even a book, it's a pamphlet, but it's his second edition. I have a lot to say here concerning what people are saying about, oh, flat Earth is a new thing, and it just started, and the Greeks have always believed, and we've known for 2,500, all this crap. So here's 1899, and if you go to that where it says assumptions, are you on the assumptions?
Which one's the assumptions?
It says synthetic cosmology, conclusive evidence, rotating, revolving globe, assumptions on the.
Doesn't say assumptions on mine.
Well, go to the next page.
It's just a list of hyperlinks with page numbers.
No, you're on the table of contents.
First page. Assumptions. Oh, right, it's the one I was on originally. Yes, okay, got it.
All right. Interestingly enough, two things that are being contested today were addressed back then. Let's go. In order to account for natural phenomena in keeping with the assertions of the learned, many hypotheses have to be laid down, and many unfounded assumptions are absolutely necessary to support the unsound fabric of astronomical imagination. In Modern Science and Modern Thought by S. Lang, the following occurs on page 51. What is the material universe composed of? Ether, matter, and energy. Ether is not actually known to us by any test of which the senses can take cognizance, but it is a sort of mathematical substance which we are compelled to assume in order to account for phenomena of light and heat. Whatever explanation may be furnished regarding light and heat on this basis must be discarded as utterly untrustworthy because the premises are assumed. Once upon a time, it was stated that the stars were motionless, but as soon as assumption was allowed to talk, the scene was changed. For as Science Shiftings informs us, volume 6, page 39, as soon as it was conjectured that the stars were subject to the law of gravitation, it was inferred that they were not motionless. There was Nathan Oakley and panel way back then. And there always has been. We're just carrying the torch. Okay? Everyone with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next one. Do you see where it says Professor Huxley? At the top?
Yeah.
Okay. Page 3 and 4. Professor Huxley had to resort to assumption to account for the disappearance of ships at sea. Oh, sounds like today's video. Although, had he known the truth of the matter or taken the trouble to inquire, his unwarranted assumptions would have been totally unnecessary. He says, we assume the convexity of the water because we know of no other way to explain the appearance and disappearance of ships at sea. What learning, what profound wisdom, if we know of no other way. It is better to admit the fact and wait until we have found out some other way to explain the difficulty, if there is any. Knowledge is gained by practical investigation and experience and has no need of assistance of assumption to provide an excuse for ignorance. If water could be proved to be convex, there would be no need to assume it to be so. We should have many proofs and abundant evidence of the fact. But the fact that water has been proved to be level hundreds of times makes it necessary for those who refuse to believe proved facts which tell against their theory to resort to assumption to maintain their unreasoning position. And yet the same professor in his book, Science and Culture, says the assertion which outstrips evidence is not only a blunder, but a crime. The assertion, therefore, that water is convex against proof furnished many times over that it is level is not only blunder, but a crime. He just stuck it right back to him. Interesting that we're just carrying the torch, huh, Nathan?
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's a good chance that some of the arguments that we brace against as though they've been put to us in 2015, therefore our 2015 arguments, have been ongoing for quite literally hundreds of years, unchanged. And the only thing that we've seen in recent times is subtle changes. And the subtle changes descend their original claim into absurdum in the case of refracted horizons.
Yeah, now if you go to that page that shows the hyperlinks, this is basically what's in this pamphlet. Assumptions, age of the Earth, aeronautics, contrast, contradictions, circumnavigation, curvature, canals, disappearance of ships, distances, fluids, figure of the Earth, growth of the Earth, gravitation, geology, horizon, the level on the term lighthouses, midnight sun. Oh, yeah, he goes into that one. Motions of the Earth, moon, the moon, eclipses, magnetism, navigation, pendulum, polarity of worlds, planets, the parallel lines on railways, rivers, ridicule, the sun distance, sun diameter. I could go on and on, but they're the same topics.
Any more to add
like
on
a good
this?
read? Well, just to go over
I could add,
sorry.
The only thing I could add is what Brian said and what the last part was. You know, the Greeks, as well as every culture, believed the Earth was flat. So when someone wants to cite the Greeks, go further back than the couple of guys who got together who said, I wonder if we're a planet round like, we see what we think the stars are, and, we might be one of them. Until that thought came into a few Greeks and they started muddling with their mathematics in a model. Okay, now reality. All the Greeks believed the Earth was flat. Every civilization believed the Earth was flat. There was a changeover to this globe. And yes, the Greeks were involved with the thought, and then the Romans, and then et cetera, et cetera. Okay? But as I've shared with you before, and the panel, it's funny how it was only in the West, this thought. But it started going east. And so it finally reached China by the Jesuits, Matteo Ricci. And he got there and he was frustrated because the Chinese were thinking the Earth was square and flat. And he says, no, I just sailed here. Look, let me show you this new cosmogony. And he started showing what we currently have today. And the Chinese wouldn't have any of it. They kicked them out. And then he got back in. And I'm summarizing the whole story. I've got like 8 books on the subject. And it wasn't until the late 1800s, and in some provinces of China, 1900, about the time of this book being written, 1899, that people in China still believed the Earth was flat. Well, what gave them that evidence, you might ask? Well, let's try one of their famous admirals, Admiral Zheng He, and his 7 voyages, all the way to Africa and back, and how they used to navigate with starboards, similar to the Kamal, similar to all the other angle measuring devices that other peoples in the world use when they navigate. And they sighted Polaris. And it was vast oceans he was crossing using the stars, and the Polynesians. And so with 300 plus ships, 28,000 men on 7 different voyages, and that was just one of the voyages with that many ships. They were very successful. So then we have a paradox here. We have the Chinese traveling the Earth using flat Earth as their base on what they're traveling on and using the stars and the angles, and it's working. And then we have Matteo Ricci, Jesuit, coming in here and saying, no, it's curved, and we're on the ball, and da. And you say, no, you can't have both. If it's round, the Chinese would have failed. If it's flat, the Chinese were successful, so that proved them to be right. So Matteo Ricci had to what? What's our term these days? They need a what?
Flat plane.
They need a flat Earth more than we do.
Yeah.
See, if Matteo Ricci's navigating exactly the same way as Admiral Zheng He did, then he was successful in reaching China. But if you're going to adopt a mathematical model and say it's happening this way, but in all actuality, you're using elevation angles and traveling on a flat Earth, then it's no longer a paradox.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it today. I got to go.
But that'll be my opportunity to round out and say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you are watching an after show. However, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.